Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about RAM prices, and good Lord, they have skyrocketed. Um, I'm not going to lie, this was definitely a sort of blindsided like moment for me. I was actually took a little trip to the beach, and I was just laying in bed, checked the Micro Center website because every now and again I just browse just to browse, and I saw that RAM prices have not quite doubled, but almost doubled. Well, actually, now that no, I take it back. They have more than doubled. They have more than doubled because I had it was this kit right here. I have this exact kit right behind me. Um, T-Force Delta RGB, 32 gigabytes DDR5, 6000 CL30. Okay, nothing special. This is a kit of A-die Hynix. It's good memory, but it's not a good bin of Hynix A-die. So nothing special about this memory in the slightest. There's no it'll work. Expo will work great. You can definitely tighten timings way further than like advertised or whatever. And that's what I did, right? I was able to get CL26, which is great. Now I have a much better kit of DDR5 that's able to do CL24 at the same voltages that this kit did CL26. So, and guess how much I paid for these? About $104. 104. So, more than doubled in price at $249, which is just atrocious. And from what I've heard, and if you are in the tech space slash PC community or whatever, you've probably heard that a lot of the reason for that is AI fabs, and they are moving from DDR4 to DDR5. And similar with GPUs, they are just buying up as much as they can possibly get their hands on because they apparently just have as much money as they want to throw at this kind of stuff, so they are just milking the market for as much as, like the demand for RAM sticks out of nowhere. Honestly, I would like to have an explanation for what these modules are actually good for with like AI, like training and stuff, because from my understanding is GPUs and like VRAM is the primary factor when it comes to like AI models and training those AI models. That's, I don't know exactly how all of that works. I don't know that much about AI and like, how that, I just know that the more, like VRAM a GPU has, the better it is for AI, um, you know, AI training, AI models. That is why, you'll see companies buying up it's like the NVIDIA RTX, no, not the 6000 has 96 gigabytes of VRAM, if I'm not mistaken. That's the kind of GPU that would be just like very, very good at, or the H100 also. That's a great GPU for doing stuff like that. But I don't really know what RAM does. When it comes to, we can look it up real quick. Why is RAM why is DDR5 being used for AI development? Let's see. DDR5 is used for AI development due to its enhanced speed, capacity, reliability, scalability, and bandwidth. So it's an ideal choice for AI workloads that require high performance computing. DDR5 offers high data transfer rates. Okay, that's true, but I guess maybe there are a lot of AI programs that run off of like the CPU, but from my understanding, like I don't understand. Okay, DDR5 does have higher bandwidth. Maybe this is for AI fabs that primarily deal with CPU AI models or something, or that's what they specialize in instead of GPU. I really have no idea. That's the only um okay. So yeah, that's the only reason that I could really think of. So if y'all know better than me, definitely down in the comments below, let me know. But so yeah, very basic RAM kit, $250. Just ridiculous. Now, what would I do if I were wanting to build a PC right now? and just from scratch, right? Because from what I can tell, the only thing that's really been affected is DRAM prices. I haven't really noticed anything inflate. I mean, obviously GPUs have been inflated for God knows how long, but we're pretty much. I hate to say it, and I don't even want to be true, but at this point, we're just used to that. That's just how it is, right now at least. Until hopefully one day AI can maybe be offset onto some other sort of sector, and like GPUs or gaming GPUs won't be so heavily needed. Or really, it's not that gaming GPUs are being used for AI. It's more that NVIDIA and AMD are allocating more resources towards their AI sector, which leaves less for the actual gaming sector, which is their, like RTX GPUs. So, and demand for gaming GPUs is still pretty high, and they're producing less, so prices rise, right? So I did find this kit. It is a Patriot Viper Elite, 16 gigabyte, okay, for $70. Is this a good price? No, not compared to like even just a couple of weeks ago. Not even a couple. I was on Micro Center's website like last week, and this kit of RAM was like $110. 110 for 32 gigabytes, But regardless, if I were to want, if I just was dead set on building a computer right now, and you wanted new RAM, I would go with something like that. Now, if you are a little bit more of a risk taker, get on Facebook Marketplace. You can probably find a kit of RAM, 32 gigabytes for, if you're lucky, some people don't even know that these prices have increased, so you might be able to get a kit for like $100. I just recently bought a kit of Hynix M die, and I paid $50 for that. It's 32 gigabytes. Is it the fastest RAM in the world? No, it's not Hynix A die. You're not able to tie in TRFC to the moon and back like you are with Hynix A die. But what are you gonna do? It's still a really good kit of RAM, very fast. It's not gonna cause any bottleneck with your CPU, and it's not the end of the world, right? Like obviously Hynix A die is preferred, but Hynix M die is pretty much. I won't say pretty much just as good because it doesn't seem to scale as well with voltage, but regardless, CL30, Hynix M die, if you tighten your secondary timings, you'll be golden, especially for gaming. Really, tightening CL is important. It is your cast latency, after all, but it's not the end-all be-all. If you have really tight secondary timings, which Hynix M die is good at, except for TRFC, that's the only one that it kind of struggles, but it won't really go below 160 nanoseconds or whatever. But regardless, it'll work. But so yeah, if it were me, I would personally get on Facebook Marketplace and try to find a kit of RAM that way. It's not going to come with a warranty, obviously, but from the part of a PC that I have found to be like least likely to just outright die is DRAM. I've never personally I've heard about it, but I've never had a stick of RAM die on me before. And that's partially just because they don't draw that much power. They don't really get that hot. I know some kits that go really high, like 88,000 megahertz and above, they can get hot, but generally they don't get that hot in compared to like a GPU or even or like a CPU or anything. So if I were to be comfortable buying something secondhand, it would be something like RAM. Now obviously you are taking an inherent risk. You could get scammed somehow, but because scammers, man, they come up with new interesting ideas on how to take your money and run, but don't scare that away. Inspect the RAM, make sure that you got an actual, you can maybe like look under, see the memory chips. You're good. I don't think that they would, I don't think that they'd be swapping out memory chips or anything like that. Worst thing that could possibly happen in my mind when buying a secondhand kit of RAM is they switch out the actual like stick of RAM and put the same heatsink on, and then you get like a worse kit of RAM. But at least I guess maybe they could sell you DDR4 and you wouldn't know it or something. But really, that's more trouble than it's worth, in my opinion, for most people to even attempt. So don't be too scared to go the secondhand route. That's just coming from me. Then again, I do, um, I've bought stuff on Facebook Marketplace a ton. So, but one thing about this listing in particular that makes no sense is that you can buy 2 of these for 100 and let's see, I think I already added it to cart, but for $139. But then it gives you the option to get 2 of them, from what I can tell, this exact same memory sticks combination and everything for $179. So don't do that. If you're going to buy this kit of RAM that I'm showing you right here, yeah, it's white. It is what it is. If you want to put a system together with brand new RAM, it's going to work. Deal with white for a little bit, then sell it once DRAM prices stabilize, Yeah, just instead go to your cart, add 2 to your cart, add to cart, and then buy it that way. Do not buy it in it just doesn't make any sense to me, because normally when stuff is bundled like that with 2 sticks of RAM, it's actually cheaper than if you were to buy one and then another, with them separately. It doesn't make any sense. You're saving on, the company's saving on packaging. They're selling you more RAM, right? So they're actually selling more product than if they just sell you 1 stick. They're making more money, because if they sell 1 RAM stick for $70, who knows how much they're actually making the RAM for. So regardless, yeah, just do it like I said, But this is the cheapest RAM kit that I was able to find. Everything else is just astronomical in price. Everything. I mean, look at this. I know 120 gigabytes, that's a lot of RAM, but it is not $1,050. RAM is not a GPU, okay? RAM is cool, overclocking it's cool, but it's just not in any way, as important as a GPU. And yes, you need it for your PC to function. However, having a worse kit of RAM, you could have the worst kit of DDR5 on the planet, 5600 CL40, and getting a brand new GPU that is more expensive is going to get you way more performance than if you bought a lower tier GPU and really nice RAM. So that is just obnoxious. Even all these RAM kits that have no RGB, nothing special, just $200 for just the most basic T-Force, just ridiculous. Now, if you wanted to spend this much money on a RAM kit, at this point, right, you may as well go with something crazy like, the Trident Z5 Royal or something. I mean, at this point, you may as well, because, you're already spending that much money anyways. Just go with it. Or, I do like these T-Force Extreme modules. They just look so clean to me. But regardless, I wouldn't pay $314 for them. That's for sure. Oh, by the way, if you buy a 48 gigabyte kit of RAM, it's going to be Hynix MDI. So just forewarning, if no questions asked, it's going to be Hynix MDI. So yeah, honestly, if I were you, if you guys already have a PC, I would think that a lot of people that are watching this video already have a PC built. They may be, you may be still on DDR4. Hopefully you already built a system with DDR5 and you're not having to deal with this like I am. No, you're not having to deal with this just like me, right? How I already have my DDR5. I'm good. I paid for this kit of G-Skill. It was actually an XMP kit of RAM. Didn't come with an Expo profile. I paid $80 for this G-Skill kit of RAM. And brand new, it might have sold for $130, $140, but now this same kit of RAM probably would cost you $250, $260, which is just freaking ridiculous. I have another kit of G-Skill memory right here. Trident Z5 Royal White. Or not Royal, sorry, just Trident Z5. These are actually a Samsung kit of RAM, and the reason why I have these, and I'm going to sell them, I'm not going to, rip anyone off or anything like that, but I'm selling these because I didn't real. This is before I actually got into RAM or whatever. I bought these for my girlfriend and realized that they were Samsung memory, unfortunately. And just stay away from Samsung memory. You cannot tune it worth a damn. It's just not good. It's gonna be slow. If you're not that tech savvy, you might not notice, right? But when I switched it out for a kit of Hynix M die, tuned the timings, her GPU usage went from like 80% up to like upper 90. The CPU was able to get those frames out faster. But yeah, if I were y'all right now, hopefully you already got a PC. If you're on DDR4, wait. And if you just really want to build a DDR5 system right now, go secondhand. Try to find the best deal you possibly can. Try to maybe find somebody that doesn't know these prices have increased to freaking crazy astronomical limits. Because if I wouldn't have checked, I might have not even known yet, because I was at the beach or whatever. But yeah, so it's unfortunate. These just very basic kits of RAM that aren't even anything crazy special. Like these 8000 CL38 kits were already expensive. I think they were like $250. So really these didn't even increase in price all that much. But these kind of kits right here, nothing special about them. $280. God, do not buy this. DDR5 6400 CL40. Ooh, that's either Micron or Samsung, and I'm leaning more towards Samsung. Well, I don't know. It could be. I don't know what this would be. Maybe I'm leaning towards Samsung, but could be Micron. Definitely don't go with Micron. Good God. But yeah. So, 2,000 buckaroos right there for 256 gigabytes of G.Skill Flare X5. The most basic kit of RAM you could, at least basic looking kit of RAM you can possibly get. I don't know about y'all, but I do value some sort of aesthetics when it comes to my PC, right? With my like RGB, I keep it a static color. I don't want it to be more distracting than it has to be. Right now, it's been Halloween, so I did orange, right, for like a pumpkin, and then I have this friggin' Arzopa display that I put in there, just for, I don't know, festive vibes or whatever. But just, I like to like have fun with it, customize it or whatever. If you don't value any sort of RGB or anything like that, go with a kit like that, or try to find just a basic kit, a used one or something. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Hopefully these prices stabilize once again. We were really at a low point where DDR5 was very affordable, even more affordable in some cases than DDR4. So yeah, I really hope not that many people are buying this kind of stuff, because it is just, it's unfortunate, man. It really is. Yeah, I just can't believe it, really. I mean, obviously these are really nice kits, not the Vengeance one, but the Tridents, they're nice kits, but man, $500 and $800. And oh my God, $800 just because it's 6000 CL26. Let me tell you, I could get one of those. I could take one of these basic T-Force Delta kits that's Hynix A. I don't know about Hynix M, but if it's Hynix A die, you can get CL26 very easily. Up voltage, boom, CL26. It is not hard to do. And as long as you're around 1.65 volts and you don't go that much higher, you can get CL26 relatively easily and safely. You don't have to worry about your chips burning up or anything like that. This is just a scam. This is just an absolute $800 for. See, I just know people will look at this though, like people that don't know that much about computers, they will look at this and they will think $800. It's so expensive because it is just that much better than the other offerings. And that's just not the case at all. And it looks nice and cool and sparkly and everything, but I know that they're just going to look at that $800 price tag and think, man, this, it's so expensive, it has to be worth it. Especially if you got a little more money than maybe you know what to do with or something. Which in that case, if you can afford it, I guess. But yeah, I would assume that this kit was probably like $250 maybe 300, because this is only 32 gigabytes of RAM. Remember, this is only 32. I was thinking I was going to look down and at least see 64. But no, this is just 32 gigabytes of RAM being sold for $800 because it's CL26, which I'm assuming it's probably at a low, at 1.45 volts. My kit right now could probably run CL26 1.45 volts. And I got this for $80. 80, literally a tenth of this price. It makes me really upset for like the PC space, because, we obviously, people that are into this kind of stuff, like we want to see the adoption rate, right? Like we want to see people getting on PC, using PC, like realizing why it's so beneficial and like, why it's great pretty much. And then you see stuff like this that's just so disheartening. It's like, well, damn, PCs kind of suck at, like, you could buy a PS5 for this. Like, PS5. Let's just look at it. $499 for a PS5. And a kit of RAM is being sold for $200 more than that. $300. Okay, I know I'm ranting at this point, but golly, that's rough. Okay. This kit could be running at CL26. Oh shoot, CL26 1.25 volts, best bin ever, and it still would be nowhere worth. It would not be worth anywhere near $800. Like I could maybe see a 256 gigabyte kit going for that much, but yeah, like look, you can get 100. I know these are just basic DIMMs, but you could still get 128 gigabytes for 1100, which, do not take that, the wrong way. That's still way too much, but it's better than 800 for 32 gigabytes, just because it has tighter timings. Yeesh. That's all I have to say about that, really. I mean, at that point, look, you can get 64 gigabytes, 2x32, 6400 CL30 for $466. Yeah, just, God, I really hope nobody's buying this, because this is even the, let me see if I can, the AMD bundles, they don't even come with RAM anymore. So they're not even that enticing, like an AMD bundle, the reason why they, or Intel bundle, the reason why they were so interesting and everyone wanted to buy them is because, like, oh, you pretty much pay for it, you got like half the PC right there, and it's not really that expensive, and you get like a really good deal. But now it's just, I mean, the 7700X, like, that's decent, like 319, that's still like, that's still good. But because I think with the RAM it was like but I remember about a month ago this kit with RAM was $369. And I remember that vividly because I actually used the Wayback Machine to check the price, like going a couple months back, and this was $369 with the RAM. So yeah, just, times are crazy with like AI and everything. Honestly, at this point, AI is just, it's getting to be too much. Like, at first it was fun, it's cool, it's new, but now it's like, it just feels like it just keeps devastating the market, especially for just the average consumer. It just like blow by blow, it's like we're just getting freaking pummeled. Once we think we have a break or whatever, GPU everything's kind of stabilizing, boom, DDR5 prices are astronomical. They're going for as much as a GPU now. Like, if this were to happen to anything, I cannot believe it's RAM. But anyways, I'm going to stop blabbering. I've probably been going for, good God, 24 minutes. Okay, well, sorry for the long video, but yeah, hopefully you guys get this all sorted out. I'm sorry if you were planning on building a PC soon, sometime soon. Hopefully, yeah, like I said, maybe try the secondhand market. You might get lucky with a cheap kit. Strike gold, and at this point, striking gold would be like getting a kit of RAM for the same price it was a couple weeks ago. yeah, so that's what I recommend really at this point. You know, obviously this isn't the worst deal, but my opinion, very ugly kit, but it's at least reasonable compared to a lot of the stuff we just looked at. So yeah, hopefully you guys found this video a little informative. Maybe it'll help you make good buying decisions. You know, don't blow all your money on RAM. I'm just telling you right now, if it's between RAM and a GPU, get the better GPU. Like, come on now. Buy the better GPU and then get the RAM later. At the very least, you will end up, you know, not regretting that decision in the slightest. Um, yeah. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one.